So now, very last thing we'll do is random genre challenge. That's basically what this is. So pretty much what it is, at least what we did back in Store Brand Comics. We only did it once, but it was fun.
Yeah.
Pretty much Teo has some dice. And he has two separate dice. One dice will basically dictate the genre that we're going to pitch. This is a pitch that we're going to do. And then the other dice dictates the setting of the pitch that we're going to do. And he has different stuff under each number, that sort of thing, that kind of determines that. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to get a random genre and a random setting. We're going to make a pitch out of it.
Yeah, let me get my dice tray real quick just to make sure that my dice don't roll off the end of the little table I'm using. Alrighty, are you ready for the roll?
Yes.
All right. So for setting, we got 1, which is present day Earth.
Okay.
And for genre, we got 2, which is comedy.
Okay. This is very broad. I feel like I
was gonna say this could be mundane or it could be weird, depending on what we want.
I was about to say, like, this is what I've been writing the past year and a half to 2 years. So yeah. I should be able to think of something here, contribute in some way. So let me see. All right, comedy, present day Earth.
So basically just a regular comedy.
Yeah, basically regular comedy. Okay.
All right, so I guess we got to ask ourselves about like the style we're going for. Is this a like sort of a grounded situational comedy, or are we going more absurd?
I'm fine with either. I personally am leaning a little bit towards absurd only because that is what has been in my brain for
and
way
that's
too long.
I'm going to be honest, that is my preferred type anyway.
Yeah. Okay, so an absurdist comedy. Let's see. Let's nail down a premise.
All right.
Or character. Sometimes premise can trump character, and then character can come in after.
All right. Premise.
Grimace.
I was gonna say we could just do Harold and Kumar go to White Castle, but for McDonald's instead. But I haven't even seen that one. The only Harold and Kumar I've seen is Escape from Guantanamo Bay.
Yeah. Oh man, it's so broad. I'm trying to think.
Yeah, I didn't get us a good roll this time. I think that wasn't a great roll. All right. So we've got. Give me a minute.
Okay.
I'm working on something.
Also part of the challenge will be we have at least 2 minutes to think of a premise. If not, we have to forfeit and roll the setting again.
Okay, yeah. The setting, but not the genre.
Genre is fine.
Okay.
Like
that makes sense because sometimes the setting is the issue.
Yeah.
Let's see. They work at whoever it is, whoever the main character or characters are. They work at a.
Okay. I'm just throwing stuff out there because I'm literally looking at this. I've had this in my kitchen for over a year. It's funny that I've had this. I've got a giant piñata, like horse or donkey, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Maybe because it is comedy, present day Earth. It doesn't have to be like real people or whatever. Maybe one of our characters It's possibly a pinata. Or it could be like this is regular Earth, but this is almost not saying it's Ted. Let's not lean into Ted. But the reason I mentioned that is like Ted is the only, like, it's regular Earth, but there's a real life talking teddy bear.
Yeah.
With this is real Earth, but there is a alive pinata.
Okay.
I'm trying to think what specifically with that. Okay, so
he's a live pinata, and well, then there's got to be something about him not wanting to get smashed open.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So it's an alive pinata that, like people, like some people know about it. It's not like one of those hidden things where it's like he pops out and it's like, oh my gosh, a live pinata. This is something like similar to Ted, where it's like people have known about this for like a couple of decades or whatever, to where like no one cares, sort of.
Yeah.
But okay, so the alive pinata works from home, does some sort of like work from home thing, mostly because of his fear and anxiety of going outside and getting smashed. Not in the sexual way, but the baseball bat or stomping way.
Some people might get sexual gratification out of smashing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And you can play into that as well. This can be rated R or it can be PG-13, depends, whatever. But yeah, there's people that have a weird fetish about this or whatever it may be.
So he needs a name. We don't want to be too on the nose about it, because I was just thinking like, oh, maybe his name is burro, like the Spanish word for donkey. But
yeah, because I was thinking like pin, like no. Let's see.
Yada, no.
Yeah.
Buck. Rico.
Maybe Rico. What the heck is the name of that? There was that Viva La Pinata Xbox game back.
Yeah.
What are the names of this?
I don't know the names of any of the characters in it. I just know the name of the game, Viva Pinata.
Okay. Oh, they have like, yes, they do have like weird last names and stuff, but it's somewhat normal. I'll say some of these names. Maybe it can jar something with us. So, Polly Pretztail, Fergie Fudge Hog, Franklin Fizzly Bear.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that one? You cut out.
Franklin Fizzly Bear, Haley Horstachio. There's also a Petunia Pretztail, so I guess their siblings are related to Polly Pretztail.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me see.
His name is
Don
Quixote.
Hey, maybe, yeah. Didn't Don Quixote, didn't he like ride a donkey thinking it was like a horse?
I think so. I don't know. I'm not recently familiar with the Ballad of Don Quixote.
I gotcha. Well, I mean that could be possible, because at the very least, so I mentioned like
because I was thinking like it's a Spanish name. He's a pinata.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That could work. Yeah. Because I was also thinking, like, I mentioned he works from home. He's like has anxiety about going outside and stuff because of the things that can happen to him as a fragile pinata.
I'm filled with delicious candy.
And I'm not sure what he does in terms of his job at home, whether he's like a streamer and his like his tag is Don Quixote or something.
Oh my gosh, that's so perfect. That's perfect because oh my gosh, that's perfect because he's a streamer, right? He's a Twitch streamer, and like he's one of those like variety Twitch streamers where it's more than just gaming. Like sometimes he does like reaction stuff and like
yeah.
Like he's just a general Twitch streamer, and and like he's got this super like outgoing personality online, and like he's, you know, one of those internet celebrities. But then like, you know, the big reveal after like the first 3 minutes or so of like, because like the movie, let's say the movie opens with one of his streams,
Mm-hmm.
and like you see like 2 minutes or so of that, of him like, you know, just streaming and being super sociable. Then like as soon as he hops off the stream, as soon as he closes for the night, he like, you see him like, you know, with his little nervousness, just like little things. Like maybe he's getting ready to make himself like dinner for the night, and he drops a pan and he flinches like really harshly at it. And like he backs up into like a corner, like ah! Like as soon as he drops the pan.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we got it. Our rhythm.
Yeah. So Living Pinata Don Quixote is a Twitch streamer, or if we can't get licensed for Twitch, he's a streamer.
Yeah.
Come up with
He's a Twitch streamer.
Yeah, I was about to say, come up with how a lot of movies do the fake Google, like, oh, let's Google it, or let's
let's gargle it.
Yeah. So yeah, he's a streamer, and he does have this personality on stream, but then once the cameras go off, he's very different, very
he's very timid and very
timid. He has social anxiety, anxiety in general. He's a fragile pinata. And we do have to have okay. At some point, early on probably, we have him doing a therapy session. But maybe he's not in an office. Maybe it is like him trying to do something like BetterHelp.
Yeah,
or whatever. Yeah, like a remote thing. And he's discussing like some of his things. You're having this talking pinata talk about his anxiety and his fragileness, and there's like some heartfelt moments in that, but there's also some comedy because it's like, oh yeah, fragileness because he's a cardboard pinata. But yeah, like at some point the therapist is like, hey, like maybe like you're ready to work into meeting in person, like at my office sort of thing. And he's like, I don't know, maybe. To where he shows like he's still, even with the therapist, he doesn't want to be outside his world, his bubble.
Yeah. His little apartment where he has control.
Right. And so this is just a spitballing idea. So you have this character who doesn't want to leave this controlled environment that he has, which is his apartment. And you also have instances where like you have maintenance or landlords or whoever like knocking on the door, and he's just like, slide it under or leave it there, that sort of stuff, or package delivery, and it's just like, leave it there, that sort of stuff. So it really shows he wants to remain within this bubble. And he also orders like Uber Eats for groceries and all this stuff, and they leave it at the door where, yeah, he stays in this bubble. But something he does possibly express to the therapist, or the therapist talks about it like he has expressed it before, is like he does want to experience like either not entirely social interactions, but maybe because he is an animal pinata, he does want to experience like the outdoors, the wilderness. But he's that's a thing that conflicts with him, of his identity, is like, I am like a donkey or a horse, but I'm not a donkey or a horse. I'm this fragile pinata. I would like to roam with the real donkeys and horses, but I know it just wouldn't work. So
because there's such a risk of him getting trampled by the horses.
Yeah. as well as like trampled, as well as he's like super small. Because
Yeah.
you're talking about like yes, he's a pinata, but and it can even be one of these big like donkey pinatas, but he's still like no more than 3.5 feet tall.
Yeah, yeah. And he's this fragile little, mostly paper mache and cardboard pinata
Yeah.
filled with delicious candy.
Yeah. But I mention all that stuff because you got to have like the big thing that shapes the movie, or you could do this whole indie route where like it basically is this donkey as the well, like the Brendan Fraser's The Well, where it all takes place in this guy's apartment. You could
Yeah.
do the whole indie thing of that, or you could do the Hollywood thing where an inciting incident happens and now he's thrust into this outside social world.
Well, I think for us to make it work as a comedy, we have to go the Hollywood route and have him forced
Yeah.
outside of his home to experience the world.
Yeah.
Because if we go the indie route, it's going to be really difficult to make it properly funny.
Yeah. Especially when he's confined in his apartment and you might get like one or two people over at his apartment sort of thing.
Yeah.
Because the only way I could see like that indie bottleneck route is like one or two people he knows comes in, and then like later down the road they throw a party in the apartment or whatever, and he's just having crazy anxiety. But then it's like he joins in the party, that sort of thing. But no, you can't make a whole movie just on that. So yeah, we'll go the Hollywood route. He's thrust into social environment. I'm trying to think what though. Oh, let me see.
Oh, you know what? Maybe he's invited to an award show.
Okay. Yeah.
Like a streaming awards type of thing.
Yeah.
Maybe,
And he
you know
doesn't.
what? He won an award.
Yeah.
And
It's like,
invited to
like,
it.
yeah. That's good. And like he ultimately doesn't want to go. He just wants it to be like, oh, like I'll just video in my acceptance speech, or
And you
you can just mail me the award, that sort of thing. But maybe like a fellow friend streamer like boost him and encourages him to do it. So he's like, oh God, like okay, I'll do it, sort of thing.
Yeah, this could be one of those things too, where like we have special guest appearances by actual streamers and internet celebrities. It's like Mr. Beast calls in, like, dude, you gotta accept it, man. I'll give you $1 million if you accept the reward.
Especially if it's Mr. Beast, you can't like turn it. Like that's the biggest internet guy ever.
You can't say no to Mr. Beast.
Yeah, so if we have Mr. Beast money, we'll have Mr. Beast. But if not, it'll be like another popular streamer that you've heard of, but it's only like maybe 10 to 20,000 followers, or not 20, 10 to 20 million followers, sort of thing.
Yeah.
All right. So now all of that stuff that we talked about is really like the first 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I think a good chunk of it deals with the setting where the award ceremony, like the show, will be. Like if we want that to be like the climactic event is him at the award ceremony. I think we need to think about what would be the perfect setting, like in terms of city, because a lot of the movie will be him interacting in this type of environment.
Okay. Well, as far as like where these sorts of award shows are held, I always hear about them being in places like Los Angeles or like San Diego or something like that.
Yeah.
I was gonna say New York, but I don't know if I've heard of a lot of these happening in New York actually.
Yeah. Because I was thinking like like LA or San Diego or like Vegas, like these big things where it's essentially like, oh, like I'm not trying to make fun of the audience, but the audience is like, oh, like a living talking pinata in this place, like, whoa, what's gonna happen?
This is crazy.
Ted is in the supermarket. What?
Liam Neeson is asking him weird questions.
So let's see. So let's nail one down. So if we go like the LA route, you can have him do various Hollywood type stuff, whether it's running into celebrities as well as like you have the thing like the Chinese theater where like you have all the mascots and stuff, and like people are thinking he's a mascot or whatever it may be. Like I'm thinking of all that stuff. Or you have like something like Vegas where it's like all the Vegas life and he's interacting with that sort of stuff. So I'm trying to nail down which you could get the most weird, funny interaction stuff for this pinata.
Yeah, when he's in Vegas, you can have a scene of him being solicited by a prostitute. And... No, thank you. I'm afraid you would crush me. Not because I think you're overweight, but because I think I'm underweight.
Okay, we don't have to go this route. This is just like a possible, and I don't want to derail it too much, but what if he is, and this is pulling back some, and we can just X this out, but I just want to mention it because it did pop in my head.
Yeah.
I mentioned all the social anxiety stuff. He's a recluse, all this sort of stuff. And we mentioned the streamer thing. What if he is like an author or a poet or something, and he got invited to some award ceremony or some big like writing or poetry event in Portland, Oregon. The reason I mentioned that is because that's where you have all like the weird indie people kind of, and at this point you're it's not entirely an indie movie, but it is like the somewhat awkward humor that can happen where it's pretty much this profound pinata in his writing or in his poetry or whatever it is. And he is a recluse because all the stuff we mentioned with the therapist, that all stays. And then he reluctantly goes out to Portland, Oregon, and has like all this weird indie experiences, like all the weird artsy fartsy indie stuff that you hear in Portland of like these poetry settings and all this stuff. Like he's thrust into that. Not saying we have to go that route. That just popped into my mind.
That could be very interesting because Portland is like, I know we picked a lot of distinct cities, but Portland seems like the most distinct out of all the options.
Yeah.
I've seen enough Portlandia to know that it is apparently a very odd city.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I like that idea. I feel like that helps to reduce the scale a bit more too. Make it a bit more reasonable.
Yeah. In terms of cost, it's already down, as well as like you can have, it doesn't have to be the Hollywood comedy humor. It's more like, I'm trying to think of specific examples. Some of the indie comedy type humor.
Yeah, you're free to be a lot weirder with it.
Yeah. Like, because you have him reading an excerpt from his book or reading poetry or whatever it is he has in a bookstore or auditorium or whatever it is. I kind of like the small confined areas. So maybe it's just like this multiple stop mini tour in Portland. Because I like the idea of it being in like a bookstore, and I'm not even talking about like a Barnes and Nobles.
Yeah,
I mean,
like a little local bookstore.
Yeah, to where like there's chairs set up and there's like maybe 50 people sitting and listening to him or whatever.
All right. So what does he write then? Like, what kind of stuff does he write?
I'm trying to think. Okay, so that's the thing. Is he a novelist or is he a poet? If he's a poet, you can play into like all the stuff he talks about with his therapist of like
Yeah.
not like his existential dread of being a pinata in this world.
Yeah. Yeah,
And he
because it's
can
basically
play into that with his poetry.
yeah, because it's basically the opposite Superman problem, right? Because like you're familiar with
Yeah.
the World of Cardboard speech by Superman in the Justice League cartoon.
Yeah.
Well, for him, it's a world of everything but cardboard, and he's just cardboard.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can write poetry about that, about like how fragile he is and how easy it is for him to break. And like people just find that so profound. They're like, he's literally me. And
Yeah, exactly. Like he is mostly just talking about himself as a pinata,
yeah.
but the words he says resonates with other people. So
I feel like at any moment I could spill my guts and children will violently, carelessly devour them.
exactly. And
Don't you get
have,
it? We're the children. The world is the children eating his guts.
you have those instances in this movie like that where like he is saying his poetry, and we clearly see like, oh, like that's him
Yeah.
talking being a literal pinata, but you can gather like some more deepness with that.
Yeah.
And the people he's like doing the poetry to, the people that spot his poetry books and all this stuff, like they really eat that up. And it's like you got the snapping and the the poetry reading bookstore or whatever. You got people saying, "Oh, it's very profound." Like you said, people saying like, "Oh, really, really speaks to me." But yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, he still has like these struggles that we had mentioned before, and he does do these little things throughout Portland of reading excerpts at these little bookstores or being on panels for like these like book conventions or whatever.
Okay. With it being set in Portland, I feel like just for the sake of like having the comedy like street cred as well, you got to at least get like Fred Armisen in there as one of the characters. And also I cannot for the life of me remember his co-star's name in that show. I can't remember her name.
It's the lady from Bridesmaids, right? Or am I thinking of someone else?
I don't know. For me, I know the lady from Bridesmaids to be Kristen Wiig, and I know that's not her. So.
Okay, yeah, it's not Kristen Wiig. It's Carrie Brownstein. Yeah, I've seen her.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, you have them in there, and they're playing those type of characters and stuff.
Yeah, Carrie Brownstein. Yeah. Fred Armisen and Carrie Brownstein as like the two biggest supporting cast members.
Yeah.
Because you have to.
Yeah.
Like I said, to get that comedy street cred.
Yeah. And so, let me see. What is the climactic event or like something? Obviously, along the way, he is changing a little bit. But I'm trying to think, like, it doesn't have to be a love interest. I know that's a thing that a lot of movies go for. We can do that. I'm just trying to think of
do we want to give him a manic pixie dream girl?
In all honesty, for comedy's sake, I kind of like that. Yes, it's like, oh yes, he's has these problems and struggles, and then he finds like this perfect girl, and now
Yes.
it changes him. He becomes a better person or whatever. Yes, that's played out to death, but this is with a pinata.
Yeah. I was gonna say, here's my big question: is it funnier for her to be a flesh and blood human being, or like another inanimate object brought to life?
I was honestly thinking a flesh and blood human being.
Okay, that probably does work better. Yeah, that's a lot funnier actually. So yeah, she's a human being, and I'm trying to think of like a good like just to give an impression of like the type that we're going for. A good actress for this specific role. Let me think.
I'm not saying it's this person, but someone along the lines of like a Natalie Portman when
Okay.
she was younger. Not saying it's this character, but like that character from Garden State, like how she looked in Garden State.
I've not seen Garden State.
Okay.
But yeah, like a Natalie Portman type. I was gonna say like a Zooey Deschanel type, but I think Natalie Portman works better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you've got your like Natalie Portman type, uh, love interest.
Yeah.
Who, is guiding Don through his.
It's the quirky indie girl.
Yeah, quirky indie girl, a QIG. Quig. Her name was Quig because that's quirky.
Yeah, there we go.
It's like, where'd you get the U for the Qua sound? Because Quig sounds better than Kig. So, Kig sounds like a racial slur. So, yeah, Don and Quig are...
Yeah. It's a good pairing.
Yeah. Are exploring Portland together. Oh, I've got it.
Okay.
Don, not only is he like super anxious and everything about being in an unfamiliar environment, but like he's also stressed and bored and like really outside of his comfort zone because of his tour schedule, his one city tour schedule.
Yeah.
And going to different indie bookstores all across Portland, and it's wearing him out. But his managers / handlers, played by Fred Armisen and Carrie Brownstein, are really pushing him like, come on, Don, we gotta, you gotta keep up the energy, and Don's like, I don't know, it's I'm really feeling worn out. I'm starting to feel like I'm made of paper, and
yeah. Yeah, you got to have a lot of that stuff in the movie as well, where it's like no one's like laughing at it, and it's not emphasized either. When it's like, I almost feel like I'm made of paper. It's just like a line of dialogue that happens. Yeah, it's just a line of dialogue that happens.
And I'm so thin-skinned. It's hard to. You got to be careful with what you say around me. That sort of thing, but yeah, but then he meets Quig at one of the poetry readings and just like hits it off with her and strikes up a conversation. She's like, hey, you want to go like do something? And he against his better judgment is like, sure. And she takes him on the adventure across Portland while Fred Armisen and Carrie Brownstein are chasing them down, trying to get him back on his tour schedule.
Okay, yeah.
And those two get into tons of like Team Rocket style hijinks behind the scenes as they're trying to recapture him.
Yeah, rope him back.
And the funny thing is, like, and they do a bunch of crazy like misadventures and hijinks to try and get him back, and like set traps and things like that. When the thing is, like, they're like ultimately their goal is completely reasonable because they're just trying to get him back on his tour schedule.
Yeah.
But like they immediately jump to the most tremendous extremes of like trying to set up traps for him and wearing disguises because they're genre savvy characters. Like this is going to be a very meta movie. So they're very like genre savvy, air quotes, antagonists, even though they're not really doing anything wrong. So they're like, one of them is going to be like, well, we just got to go get him back. And the other one's like, you can't just get him back. No, we got to trick him. We got to catch him. Like, have you never seen a movie with a manic pixie dream girl in it before? That woman has lured him away with her enticing appearance and scent. And everyone's like, scent? And he's like, I know what I'm talking about. No, we need disguises. Disguises? What for? How else are we supposed to justify the budget of this tour?
Yeah, so girl basically shows him all the weird quirkiness of Portland, Oregon, but because they're both oddballs themselves, like indie oddballs themselves, they really enjoy it and stuff.
Yeah.
And it does get Don out of his shell a little bit. So let's see. What's essentially the climax or the big thing that then leads towards the ending? Like, do you keep it small to where like he is still doing the little bookstore tour thing, and then like he's in one of the bookstores and like the poetry he's telling is like centered on himself and the girl is in the back and she's like smiling and he's smiling at her or whatever? To keep it that small, or is it one of those things where he's at one of these bookstore readings or signings and he like professes like loudly like through his poetry or whatever that he's like done with this, like I just want to be with manic pixie dream girl or whatever? Or is it the first route?
I think keeping it understated is the better way to do it.
Yeah.
Like what we're doing so far is we're already kind of subverting a few things.
Yeah.
And like to go for the big confession at the end would undermine what the movie does up to that point.
Yeah.
So yeah, going with your first suggestion of a more understated sort of thing. Now, here is something that I think would be the funniest way to lead into that moment, though.
Okay.
So he's just had a very fun day with this girl, right? And like behind the scenes, the handlers have been like completely bungling all of their completely unnecessary attempts to like trap him.
Yeah.
Like the whole movie, and this really helps feed into the absurdist nature of the movie's comedy. So right at the end, you have this gigantic climax where one of the characters, probably Fred Armisen's character, is explaining the next plan to Carrie Brownstein's, or vice versa. Either way, they both sell ridiculous stuff pretty well. Maybe they're explaining it to each other and both coming up with ideas and contributing. Anyway, as they're describing their giant plan, like you show this huge climactic, like we blew the whole movie's budget on this big final action sequence sort of thing. And then like, and they're, describing it the whole time. And you're doing that thing where like, it's like in a heist movie where they're going over the plan and then showing you the heist play out while they're going over the plan.
Yeah.
So that the explanation isn't redundant.
Yeah.
But you still get to show the heist. So you do that whole thing and make it seem like this is actually the climax of the movie. But then once they're done explaining it to each other and they set out to go do it, they corner him and they're like, all right, we're going to get you back on that tour. They're the last thing we do. But he's had such a good time with the girl and like such a stress-free day. He's like, yeah, all right.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're like, what, really? And he's like, yeah, I'm ready to go back to work. And they're like, but we had a whole thing. We had this whole thing planned. Or would that be too much to go for that sort of climax for the sake of that one joke right at the end?
Yeah, I think that could be fine. What I was thinking with that, like, to still have like the quirkiness of showing like all that planned stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have this person as a director. I know this sounds wild, but you might have to have this is a dream scenario. This pitch is a dream. But I was thinking you have someone who leans into like quirky indie stuff like Wes Anderson, at least for that. Yeah. At least for that the whole sequence of the getting him back type thing.
Yeah.
Because it still stays quirky and indie while being like somewhat big. Because I'm not saying the movie itself is directed by Wes Anderson.
Yeah.
But whoever directs it, at least for that scene, should take some inspiration from Wes Anderson to still keep that scene. They need to have
Anderson-esque sensibilities.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I smell what you're stepping in. I'm picking up what you're putting down. I'm eating what you're serving me.
All right, so you have Don at the bookstore at the end. His managers are now pretty much calm and level-headed because they're like, oh, like he's back. He's pretty much a responsible person. We're just stressing about nothing.
I guess he just needed a few hours off.
Yeah, yeah. And you have Natalie Portman character in the back as Don is giving his poetry about himself and her and the stuff he learned, but in a poetic way, basically. And what is the ending?
The ending is... All right. Okay. I've got it. So I think the ending is... So we can kind of blend your two suggestions for an ending together, I think, actually. So It is understated. He is reading the poetry, but he's also like... It's a really, really subtle, like, hey, would you be interested in, like, going out with me or maintaining contact sort of thing? Where, like, the poem kind of ends with a question that's along the lines of, like...
Yeah.
Like, would she have me? Not quite that like overstated, but you know, like
I know what you mean.
Something along those lines. And it ends with like a slow, like not zoom, but like a pan, like the camera's panning in on Don's face, his little CGI pinata face. I just remembered he's a pinata. And like he kind of like smiles like meekly at her, and then like it kind of cuts to her position and she smiles like a little small smirk back at him, and then without saying anything it cuts to credits.
Okay, yeah, that can work.
Where like you don't know what her answer is going to be, but she gives the very strong impression that it's yes.
Yeah. And so also,
like the audience can pretty confidently walk away with the thought that story had a happy ending, because there's really no reason for it not to.
Yeah, because it shows like, okay, Don, from the beginning of the movie, he's gotten out of his shell a little bit. He's more social through Natalie Portman character, like having this city adventure with him and sort of stuff, and him realizing like, oh, like things aren't too scary. And obviously you have some stuff here and there that happens where he's like, oh, like that was a close call. But ultimately she gives some sort of like, because she's into poetry and stuff like that, she gives some sort of like indie poetry type speak of basically being like, danger is just in living, but you gotta live.
Oh my God, Brandon, I have the perfect way to end the movie.
Okay.
Okay, who do you imagine being the voice / motion capture for Dawn? Like, what sort of actor do you think?
So here's the thing. I was about to mention this before, so we'll get to voice. But regarding the pinata donkey itself, I want a lot of that to be practical.
Okay, yeah, like a puppet, primarily.
It could be, yeah. Like, but it definitely looks like a pinata,
Yeah.
but it can move around like a puppet, and then like you can do something with like the mouth or face whenever he is talking to where it fits well and stuff like that. Like you
But
can
yeah,
do.
you'd have to touch him up with a lot of CGI, and anytime you
Oh
have
yeah,
him
yeah.
walking a distance, there'd have to be a good deal of CGI involved.
Yeah. But I want it to look the most like it can of this is just a bigger version of the pinata you can buy at Walmart.
Okay. Well, I have the perfect thing. Whoever his voice actor is, because I just realized what Don is a metaphor for.
Mm-hmm.
So Don is clearly like a gentle soul, right? Like he's a very sensitive person. And
Yeah.
being a pinata is the perfect metaphor for someone who is easily damaged.
Right.
But like his whole journey is that he's being brought out of his shell. So maybe as he's reading that final poem, there's a scene where like the camera goes behind one of the bookshelves in the store, and he's a pinata, and it's okay. Here it is. Here's how I imagine it. The camera is behind his back, and we're seeing the crowd he's reading to, but obviously Natalie Portman, actress, is very prominently displayed among them.
Yeah.
And I just thought of another perfect thing too. Dang, I should be a cinematographer. So in the crowd, like the field of vision, like the depth of field, that's it,
Mm-hmm.
has everyone's faces blurred but hers. But it's subtle. You don't draw attention to it.
Right.
Because the camera's behind Don's back, so he's like the most prominent figure on the foreground.
Yeah.
So like you only really notice that hers is the only unblurred face if you're really watching.
Mm-hmm.
And then as the camera sweeps behind a bookshelf, like towards the back of the store, and obscures our view of Don and the crowd, when it comes back out from the other side to show them again, it's the actor who's been doing Don's voice for the entire movie.
Like the front
Like
facing view.
like the back. He's replaced Don.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I like that where
Like the
this was
pinata
all
for
a
the whole movie.
metaphor.
Yeah, the pinata for the whole movie was just a metaphor for his
I like
emotional
that.
fragility. And
Yeah.
but Natalie Portman brought him out of his shell, so now he can be like he's comfortable just being a normal man around her.
Yeah.
Just being himself. He doesn't feel fragile when she's around.
Yeah. Oh, and that kind of works. That can still work with all his poetry and stuff because like he equates himself a lot to being a pinata.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. That gives off like good night pun vibes or whatever.
Yeah.
Where it's like it's not an actual bird person. That's just how the person sees themselves. I like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I just like I had that revelation just now. It's like, and then that's the moment where like the cameras pan in on their faces, slowly as they smile at each other before,
Yeah.
and then it cuts to credits before she gives her answer.
Yeah, I like that. Boom.
For some reason, I have no idea why. Just bear with me. Now he doesn't have to be it wouldn't have to be an English actor, but I'm really imagining like a Paul Bettany type as Don.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah, I do want someone with like
because he's soft spoken.
I was about to say I want a soft spoken person who doesn't have a deep voice.
Yeah, but the voice is still like quite masculine.
Yeah. It's not like
yeah.
It's not like Marcel the Shell where it's like, oh, it's a boy.
Yeah,
it's
no,
like a girl. No, it's like clearly a man's voice.
Yeah,
but it's not commanding or anything.
Yeah, and not as sharp as a Benedict Cumberbatch, but not as soft as like a Robert Pattinson.
Right.
So I would say I would put Paul Bettany squarely between those two, like vocally speaking.
Yeah. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but yeah, casting directors, they got that, and we'd be a part of that and all.
Yeah, we'd be part of that because obviously we're the executive producers.
Yeah.
Because we have that kind of money.
Because that's the thing is like it's already a pretty indie movie to where it doesn't cost a lot to make. Like your big cost is like the CGI stuff that you have to do here and there with the pinata.
Yeah. And whatever the ridiculous climax I mentioned would end up being.
Yeah.
That doesn't actually happen in the context of the story.
Right. But yeah, so let's see. Yeah, because it could just be like somewhat unknown actors and actresses, or it could be like slightly prominent actors and actresses.
Yeah.
Because like with Dawn, that could work because it is just the person's voice. And yes, some people can pick up like, oh, that's so-and-so's voice. But that also plays into it where it's like, oh, so-and-so is voicing a pinata. And then at the end, because it's cheaper to just get someone's voice compared to the actual them, you only have like that 1 or 2 minutes at the end where we do see the actual them. And we saved a lot of money doing that.
Yeah. Unless they're one of those actors that charges an obscene amount of money just for 1 day of shooting.
Yeah. We're not getting them, because then the focus becomes like of the movie becomes too much on like, oh, it's so and so, rather than like, oh, it's an actual person and it's just a metaphor.
Yeah, no, we would definitely. Dang, I really actually kind of want to write this script with you and make this movie at some point.
I like this. Yeah.
Hey, my next term is my screenwriting class.
Oh, here we go. Yeah.
And that starts next week.
Perfect. Yeah, if they allow you to do a free reign script or a comedy script.
Yeah. I'm not gonna use this on that. Also, I would rather I would rather co-write this with you instead of, because if it's for school, I have to do it by myself.
Yeah, I get that. But yeah, so what's our title? Because we can have an indie title. Like obviously you could call it Don Quixote, but like no, I don't.
That would be misleading.
Yeah, it's misleading. What was the girl's name again?
Quig.
Quig. Quag. Quag sounds terrifying. My name's Quag.
It sounds like an alien character from one of those not Star Wars space movies.
Yeah. So we can have like an indie title, and what I mean by that is like it can be slightly long, like it can be more than 2 or 3 words.
Because I was thinking, like, for a short title, I was thinking something like Paper Thin or something like that. But
because I was thinking there's what's the name of this movie? There's some movie called like Nora and something. Let me see, Nora and it's got Michael Cera in it, I think. Let me just look up his.
The creator of Sarah V.
Yes. I love that ad. Let my cream restore you. Okay, so this had me think. So this movie's called Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist, and it feels very much like an indie movie. Like this is a comedy romance. Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist. Not saying it has to go this route, but I was thinking like Don and Quig something, like some sort of like
Don and Quig take a break.
I was thinking like more
Don and Quig go for a walk.
More indie big words.
Don and Quig perpetuate the continuity of their consciousnesses by going for a walk.
Now thinking about maybe not the whole Don and Quig thing, because the focus is Don.
Yeah.
So okay, so scratch the names. Let's try to have like a more than 2-word indie thing, and it can have some big words in it. I'm trying to think.
Don spills his guts.
Mm,
He's a pinata.
yeah.
Um,
Like here, let me pull up some because I'm blanking on the names of them. What's that Nicolas Cage movie that has the long title?
Oh,
It's all about him. Oh, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
yes.
So I'm thinking of stuff like that, kind of.
Okay. All right. Dang, dude, I don't know. I didn't even want to be here today. That could be a title. Because at the beginning of the movie, that's not untrue.
Yeah. So far of the ones that you've mentioned, so far Paper Thin is at the top. But I feel like for now, we'll just that's the working title.
Okay.
Paper Thin.
Paper Thin.
And once production starts, we'll change the name.
Yeah.
Or it could stay, but Paper Thin.
Paper Thin.
It's a good working title. All right, so there you go. Paper Thin, everyone. Look out for it in 10 years.
Yeah, I was gonna say we officially have like a movie and a Netflix miniseries to write now.
Yes.
The Hogtied Heart
Hollywood.
and Paper Thin.
Hollywood, I am watching and listening. If I see something remotely like this, I'm gonna get mad.
Oh no.
I'm gonna flip this table.
He's lifting the table,
storming into your offices.
Oh,
be like, hey, you made me flip my table. I broke my table.
I've seen him do it.
Get me a new table, and also, don't you make my daggum movie that Teo and I thought about.
He uses language like that all the time when he's mad.
And they'll cower. Be like, I'm so sorry.
He's okay. This part's not a joke. He's a very tall man. He could scare someone quite easily if he was serious.
Give me my pinata money. Stealing it.
My pinata money.
You better give us credit, and also, you better deliver both of us a pinata full of cash.
$2 million in non-sequential bills each.
So yeah, there you go. Paper Thin, everyone.
Working title.
Yeah, working title.
Starts Friday.
All right.
Wait, it starts Friday and they only have a working title? Rated R. I'm kidding.
Yeah. That's the thing is like, based on all the stuff we did, I think you could do it PG-13.
Oh, definitely. You could absolutely.
You
could get away with a PG based on what we described.
You could, but I could see them having more like expressive dialogue.
Yeah.
At least like Quig and Don.
Yeah.
Like not entirely saying like they're joking and talking about sex the whole time. You can do that sort of stuff, but it's not that type of comedy. It's not entirely a raunchy comedy.
No, it's just honestly, their half of the movie doesn't even feel like it's the comedy part. Their half just feels like a straight up romance.
Yeah.
It's the handlers chasing them down that feels like the comedy part.
Well, as well as it's not even really like in your face comedy with Don and Quig. It's more like the comedy comes in that they're doing regular rom-com stuff, but one of the people happens to be a pinata.
Yeah. But then
And
you get
there's
to the
no
end of
like
the movie and it was a metaphor.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, the key to that is nobody should ever acknowledge that he is a pinata.
Right.
Which on a first viewing is going to really lend itself to the comedy. It's subsequent viewings where you're like, oh, like where you catch it.
Oh, it was a real man this whole time.
Unless you are dialogue. Unless you are like test screening grandma, where you get to the end of the movie and the pinata is replaced by the man, and test screening grandma says, I don't understand. Why is the man sitting there? Who's that man?
Yeah, this is not a movie that's going to be. This is not a Sony produced movie. This isn't like a big production studio produced movie. Like the biggest it'd probably be produced is something like
A24,
Focus Feature, or A24.
Yeah. This would be a pretty cool A24 movie.
Yeah. But yeah,
it's definitely got an A24 premise.
Oh yeah. It's like, this is odd. This is weird.
Who else would pay for this?
Yeah, because they've already got, like we had talked about Tuesday, where it's like death comes in the form of a talking parrot. But
imitating
it's
Soundwave from Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen.
Yeah, and then they also have like I think a horror and maybe a horror comedy where it's, I think Jenna Ortega and Pedro Pascal, I think those are the two actors, but they're like father-daughter, and they accidentally run over a unicorn, and like it's stuff ensues from there.
That's awesome. I gotta see that one.
Yeah. They haven't released any photos or anything. It's just something that they're in the works of. But
that sounds good.
Yeah.
That sounds like it'll be fun.
This movie that we're making would fall in line with the stuff they're okay with making.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, paper thin. I actually like that. All right, so now closing time. It's closing time.
It's closing time.
Yes.
Time to close it up, everybody.
Yes. Whatever the lyrics are of that song that's playing.
We don't have to sing it or anything. Yeah. Speaking of songs, we should start, because I realized since you have the power to play little clips and stuff like you do with your turd sandwich.
Yeah.
We could start for like recurring segments. We could start playing little audio clips.
Oh yeah.
I was just thinking to myself earlier today, like, ooh, maybe I should make like a little theme song for the manga study.
Yeah, if we had one for like, because the ones I do see us like we're going to do more than once or twice is like the manga study, the genre challenge, and the crossover chicken, and maybe commercial stuff. Like it doesn't just have to be Super Bowl; it could also be just commercials. But
But yeah, like earlier today, I was thinking to myself, like, okay, what's an anime theme song I'm familiar enough to retool as like a theme song for the manga study segment? And I realized I have a perfect one: the English version of the first One Piece theme song. Because like that goes like, come aboard and bring along all your hopes and dreams. So like for me, I was actually kind of singing this to myself a little bit at work today, like just workshopping an opening for it. Like, come aboard and read along if you feel like it.
Yeah, that could work. Yeah, because I think that's a better segue, or like slowness to going into it, instead of like retooling. Yeah, yo. Read it. Don't give it up. Read it.
Don't give it up. Read it. Don't. Oh, I got the perfect names. Read it. Don't give it up, Teo. Read it. Don't give it up, Brandon. Read it. Don't give it up, Terry. Give it up. Give it up. Give it up. Give it up. Set sail for manga. Yeah. And like, I don't even know any of the other One Piece theme songs, even just like their tunes, because they're all in Japanese. But I don't know any of those ones well enough to even start like doing a parody manga study thing for them. Because the thing is, once We Are stopped being the regular theme song, I started skipping them.
Oh, gotcha.
Because I'm gonna be honest with you, the only good One Piece theme song was the first one. That's why that's the one they keep bringing back in the soundtrack. You don't hear any of the other ones popping back up as musical motifs, like because in the soundtrack, in the OST for the series, like stuff that isn't just the theme songs, like you still hear We Are pop up as a very prominent motif. That that's like iconic. And
Yeah.
and like you there, like it's in the slow moments, it's in the fast moments, it's in the big climactic finishes to fights, it's everywhere. We Are is the One Piece theme. So like all the other theme songs are just like, why bother? Why didn't you just play the same song for 1,070 episodes? That's what we want. This is why my name is the Angry One this week, because I realized how often I just go on rants and tangents.
The angry anime nerd. He's the angry anime nerd.
Yeah. I take a big doo-doo feces on this bad anime, and then I show a bad anime.
I'm going to take you back to the past to read some crappy anime that sucked, but you'd rather have... I don't want to say buffalo like he does. You'd rather have... what's an anime creature?
An anime creature? Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Like, do you want like an iconic one or
Sure.
Oh gosh, I'm trying to think. Now I'm completely blanking on them. Now that I'm put on the spot. I don't know. I don't even know, dude.
He'd rather...
I don't know, dude. I'm totally blanking, man.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of, because I don't watch a lot of anime. I was trying to think of some gross Studio Ghibli characters, but I can't really think of anything.
There's a lot of those. Like whatever the
he'd rather have
like No Face is kind of
that
creepy.
old lady that turns into a bird from Spirited Away.
Yubaba?
He'd rather have Yubaba take a diarrhea dump in his ear.
Ew.
So that's just showing, like, you'd rather have that than read these apparently or watch these crappy anime.
Oh yeah.
That you're reviewing because you're the angry anime nerd.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I guess. Yeah, and today we're talking about In Another World with My Smartphone. That's real. That's a real title for a real show.
Nice.
He went to another world with his smartphone. I've never seen it. I saw the abridged single episode thing that Something Witty Entertainment did. That was pretty funny, but I haven't seen the actual In Another World with My Smartphone show.
Oh, I just remembered. Okay. I keep forgetting to briefly mention this, but us like talking about like singing and making up these little jingles and songs, or like repurposing jingles and songs. It made me remember that 2, 3, 4 weeks ago, something like that, in one of the stories I was doing for a day at the fair, I wrote a country song.
Oh my god.
For that comic.
Oh my god.
Like I had the melody in my head and everything, like how the guitar goes, the rhythm of it and everything. And yeah, it's already written, so I can just tell you the premise. Actually, hold on. Let me do this. Sorry, listener. I got to pause it. All right.
You guys are never going to guess what that was about.
Yeah, I'm glad you won't.
Yeah.
And the only way you will is if the comic ever actually does come out, which we'll see.
Yeah.
I don't know who would pick it up, but
I was gonna say I don't know if anyone would want to publish that.
yeah, the mainstream indies aren't going to publish it. I'd have to go through like and I'm also iffy on going through them through just by some of the stuff they publish. I'd have to go through like some of the alternative indie stuff where it's like very punk rock, like
Yeah.
no censorship type stuff, to where
Yeah,
like
like
some of the
Fritz the
stuff you
Cat
read.
style.
Yeah,
Underground.
yeah. I'm so on that. So at the very least, if it never gets picked up one day, like if it never gets picked up one day, I might just publish them all in a book, and you can read it like comic script form, and you can visualize this comic in your head. But yeah, so I completely derailed concluding stuff by bringing that up. So wrapping up this episode, paper thin. Look for it in theaters in 10 to 20 years. Any concluding thoughts or plugs?
Nothing I can think of right now. I might need to close up the windows in the house. It's getting weirdly windy, and I'm hearing things rattling.
Oh, I gotcha. All right. Well, we'll let Teo go do that. Not have spooky stuff come into the house.
Yeah.
But
Well, I mean, we have screens.
Oh, I gotcha. Well, I mean, spooky stuff could still go through. It's a screen.
All right. Okay. Yeah, but like if it's a ghost, then like closing the windows is not gonna stop anything.
When I think it's yeah, I guess this isn't really spooky. I was thinking of like not saying Michael Myers, but like that.
Yeah. Speaking of ghosts not being stopped by anything, that just reminded me of there's a bit in a Ninja Sex Party song called "It's Bedtime," where the whole song is he's trying to lullaby a child to sleep, but he just keeps bringing up stuff that would keep you awake. And it's like there's a point in the song where he's just like, "Do you ever think about how ghosts can't be stopped by anything? Do you want to see a slideshow about where meat comes from? Apparently, most species of venomous snakes know how to open doors. Who knew? Hey, check out my air horn!" And then he blows the air horn.
All right. So wrapping up, check out all the links are in the description of this video. You can check out Dismay Comics stuff. You can check out Teo's Let's Play stuff. All fun stuff. Check it out. Or tune in to the next episode of this. Whatever. You know the thing to do.
Whatever floats your fancy.
Yeah. And I've been Brandon.
I've been Teo.
And we still are. Take care.
Take care.